thing that we can learn inside of our society. We believe it's really negative for the team of the government to have proposed this idea of a governmental institutionalization of the individuals, because we actually do not believe that is happening. We believe that the individual is empowering itself at the moment in which they are taking this room. And that is going to be touched inside of our third extension, in which we are going to explain you how we are gaining more social benefits in the long run in every place where these drugs are taken. But first of all, I want to touch some rebuttal of what the team of the government has established from the beginning of this debate. First of all, I will start with the Deputy Prime Minister, in which he starts establishing, first of all, that for example, we are going to have this extreme amount of drugs given to certain people, and with that, there is going to be a radicalization and everything. We actually do not believe that is happening. Every drug has a certain amount that can be established, that an individual can take, so that can be regulated. And also, we believe that what the team of the proposition established was that idea of, well, we are not going to take these people to a clinic. We, at any point, establish this imposition of the individual to go to a clinic or to take this drug with a forced way or a coercive way. We believe that what we are establishing here inside of team of the opposition is how you are empowering the individual, because at the first place you are the one who takes the decision to take this drug, and that is a way in which you are not making these individuals machines as the team of the government is establishing. We believe that this idea of biopolitics and all that stuff is not going to be considered inside of this debate, because at the moment in which the individual has the sufficient amount of capacity to decide whether to take or not to take the drug, that is empowerment in first place. And in second place, if he wants to take it, then he can bear with the actions that may be later. Because if you no, thank you very much. Because they're establishing a very interesting idea on how these may be incentivizing crime. But first of all, you have certain moral standards that may not be broken. If you do not want to commit a crime, for example, if these drugs caused by that suddenly I establish this crime, you already have certain moral standards that in this case, will not be changed, and that is something really important that we must mention here. And no, thank you very much. And also, another point that we want to establish here is that they are, in this idea that we are taking the free will of the people, we believe that is not the idea of this debate. And also, another point that is really important that we clear out, and that the team of the government has considered, is the idea of the psychology. We don't see a major difference between, for example, having certain therapy and discussions with the psychologist and taking this drug, because the psychology is going to take you through these discussions to certain moral decisions that you need to take in the first place. And also, another point that is really important to mention is that we do not see a clear difference between those two options. Another point that we want to clear out inside of this note, thank you very much, is how you with these drugs can grow morally different. And that is something important, because the team of the government has established during the two speeches that we're going to have the same morality, and that there is going to be a universalization of this concept. We do not believe that, because at the moment in which you are taking these drugs, you can see, for example, certain moral things that may be different to what your morality was establishing before, not actually necessarily going to be negative. No, thank you very much. And something that is really important is that we are changing the chemicals of the brain, and we're not changing the previous knowledge that the brain had in the first place. And that is something that must be considered by the judges. Now, moving on, no, thank you very much. Moving on to my substantive, I will tell you the wider social impact. We believe that there are a lot of range of benefits to the rest of the society, because we have already figured about the chemicals to take the decision of each and every individual. For example, they are establishing the idea of the adrenaline in disasters. We believe that people will decide in the first place to take the drug or not, because it is their choice to the highest ethical standard. What is going to be the highest ethical standard? I am going to establish this cost-benefit analysis on why am I going to take this drug in the first place.
Okay, let's assume we buy this rhetoric that taking this drug is actually some kind of moral choice in itself. Why do you assume that people who actually take this moral choice for the good that you believe would be unable to take the following decisions in a moral way without this drug?
That is something really interesting because in the first place, as we have established before, we are not changing the knowledge that the individual has, and also how these chemicals not necessarily go and make me commit a certain crime, because although this may change this like moral behavior that I may have, that is not necessarily going to take me to commit a certain crime. But now moving returning to my third argument, we believe that in reality it is easier to fight unethical acts in the long run inside of the society when more people act with a high ethical standard. Let me put an example. I don't really like this example, but it's a case of my country, in Mexico, and how there are a lot of people inside of the corruption and inside of not denouncing, for example, crimes, or even the idea of impunity. And we believe that is really negative because none of these people have these ethical standards in a big view, and therefore there is a possibility of perpetrating this idea. What happens if these people are actually taking this type of drugs? First of all, that we achieve another ethical standard as we have proposed before, and how this morality, for example, is going to change in the long run. Because we believe that when people stop giving bribes, also some other people maybe stop receiving those bribes, and therefore, for example, it's going to be a harm for corruption, because that will not be facilitating that matter at all. And that is something really important, because if we do not have this incentive of drugs, we do not have this idea of people caring about not destroying this type of actions like the corruption. And also, that is not, for example, democratic. What have we told you during this speech, ladies and gentlemen? We have told you that there is no fundamental difference from a psychologist that team of the government has already considered, and also how this gives us a wider social impact, and how that is going to be a more progress society in certain terms, for example, of corruption. For those reasons, I beg you to vote for the opposition.
Thank the previous speaker for his comments. Finally, start the next